Chapter 4. Philippakos read the luminous green warning in the upper right corner of his monitor screen, which was otherwise devoted to lists of humidity readings from one end of the domes to the other. "We're getting a visitor," he said, loud enough to be heard over the insect hum of the engines. "With a tube from Domes Gamma." "How long?" asked his daughter Angie, her voice as light and sweet as always. 6 or 7 minutes. Coming in pretty fast." He frowned. Must be a hotshot just out of flight school. "Think Murakami threw in some violets?" Philippakos shot a look back over his shoulder. "If he knows what's good for him." His daughter was on the opposite side of the colony's spacious white disk of a control center, standing at an open stretch of counter between two black computer stations. She was inserting pink and white roses into a clear plastic vase, having picked the flowers just that morning in Dome 12. It was difficult for Angie to reach over the lip of the vase, but she managed it by standing on her tiptoes. And of course, her specially made shoes contributed a couple of extra centimeters to the effort. Philippakos didn't know why Angie, now 24, was so small. Not so much more than a meter in height. She had been tested for genetic abnormalities in utero, just like every other fetus in regulated space. But nothing had turned up. So Philippakos and his wife had gone on with the pregnancy. Their only one, as luck would have it. After Angie was born and they saw how tiny she was, they subjected her to a number of tests. However, as far as they could tell, there wasn't anything wrong with her. Every gland, every organ was functioning perfectly. She was just little. "Some people are," one of Angie's physicians had commented, as casually as someone else might have spoken of his cat. Philippakos could have accepted the doctor's conclusion more easily if anyone else in his family had approximated Angie's stature. Or, for that matter, anyone in his wife's family. But for generations, no one had been less than average height, and some had been well over 2 meters. Fortunately, Angie had never been as perturbed by her stature as her father was. As bright as she was, she could hardly have missed the fact that she was different. But she had never complained about it. Not once. "You know," said Angie, in that tone of voice that sounded so much like her mother's, "you're too good to that weasel." Philippakos knew exactly which weasel she was talking about. "He's my friend," he said, not for the first time. "Still, if he screws up, he should have to face the music like anyone else. By protecting him, you're just making the others resent him." It was an old argument, one they'd been having since Angie was a teenager. And Philippakos knew she had a point. But he had grown up with Benedict in the Chicago Centerplex. They had played together, gone to school together, gotten laid together. He couldn't abandon the poor bastard now. Even if Benedict had gotten too lazy for his own good. Even if he had become a drag on the colony. Fortunately for Benedict, his friend was the administrator of the facility. Had someone else been in charge, he would have been out on his tailbone a long time ago. "Your old man's been running this place for a dog's age," Philippakos said. "He knows how to handle Tristan Benedict, and anyone else for that matter." Angie shot him a discouraging look. "Too bad he doesn't know how to speak in the first person. Then he'd really be impressive." Seen behind Angie through a concave observation port, the gigantic white oak in dome 4 moved restlessly in the thrice daily artificial breeze. The tree's elephantine immensity made Philippakos' daughter look even smaller by comparison. He feigned indignation. Whatever happened to filial piety? It's still alive and well, said Angie. Back on Earth, where it belongs. Out here in the boonies, it's every man for himself. Philippakos smiled. Like her mother indeed. Why don't you be an exception to that rule, he said, and see if you can put together a few pear trees. I think Murakami would consider them just recompense for his trouble. Only if he sent Gogolak her violets, Angie stipulated. Her father chuckled and turned back to his humidity readings, but before he could delve into them again, he heard Angie cry out in pain. Before he knew it, he was halfway across the control center, his hands on Angie's arm. Are you all right? He asked, his heart slamming in his chest. I'm fine, she said, holding up a forefinger. There was a dark red bead of blood on it. Just stuck myself with a thorn. Philippakos felt a hot surge of anger at the offending rose, which had fallen onto the counter. It took an effort for him not to grab the flower and crush it. Stop it, he told himself. He had always been that way about Angie. He couldn't see her injure herself, even in small ways, without a fire rising inside him, burning away all reason. At times, he had taken it out on her, as if it was her fault that she had gotten hurt. But he always felt guilty afterward, knowing his outbursts had perhaps inflicted a deeper and more lasting kind of pain. Dad, said Angie. He drew a breath and let it out. Be careful, for God's sake. Hey, she returned with a smile. Botany's a dangerous business. You should know that better than anyone. And with that, she chased all the anger out of him. Angie had developed a knack for it in recent years. It was one of the things that Philippakos loved most about her. That talent she had for putting everything in perspective. Again, so like her mother.